talking.
Are we ready?
Ready? Ready.
Okay. So the first thing you're looking for are the pleura, the visceral and the parietal pleura. And those membranes, all those membranes are gone, basically. The shiny stuff here is a little bit of parietal. But that's about all you're going to get. Wouldn't worry too much about the membranes. Plus, these cats are going to be out for a few more weeks, too, so
there won't be
it's
any?
really crunchy. The first structure they're asking for are the phrenic nerves. The phrenic nerves are the nerves that run alongside the heart, right here, all the way down here, and they innervate, get this fascia out of the way, they innervate the diaphragm. Okay, those are the nerves that control the diaphragm.
There's a phrenic.
Those are the phrenic nerves. There's one on this side, and there should be one on this side.
There was one there.
There is one. Okay, so that's the phrenic nerves. The larynx. The larynx is right here, ripped out of your little kitty cat. Okay, so this is the larynx. This consists of the thyroid cartilage, which are the big plates, right? The big stiff plates. If we rip the larynx out of the throat and turn it over and take a look, you can see in here this leaf-like shaped organ here, this piece of cartilage. This is the epiglottis. Okay. Then if we look in here, you can see these two flaps of cartilage right here. One on this side and one on this side. You see those? Two flaps down there.
Okay, yeah.
Those are the arytenoid cartilages. Those are attached to the vocal folds, which you really can't see in the cat. We can look at the model for that over there. Okay, so epiglottis, arytenoid cartilage, thyroid cartilage, and this is the trachea with all of these rings. All of these rings are open in the back. They're not complete rings. The only complete ring is the one right underneath the thyroid cartilage. That's the cricoid cartilage. Okay, and if we look at our human model, okay, is it too funky? So again, looking at it from the front, these are the thyroid cartilages. Okay, the bump on the thyroid cartilage, or the ventral median prominence, that's the Adam's apple. You can feel that on the cat too. On this one, you feel a little bump there. That's the Adam's apple.
I'll take your word for it.
This is the hyoid bone. Okay, and you can feel that. You can feel the ends of the hyoid bone right here on the cat. You can feel them more than see them, I think.
Okay.
Right there, and right on this side. Okay, that's the hyoid bone. It's like that. Okay. The cricoid cartilage again would be the first ring up here, right underneath the thyroid. That goes all the way around, and then the rest of these are open in the back. In the cat, just like in the human, they're all open back here. Okay. This is the epiglottis, which we saw in the cat, right? That leaf-like shaped piece of cartilage that covers the trachea when you swallow, so that the food doesn't go down your windpipe. These two pieces of cartilage here, these are the arytenoid cartilages, and these are attached to the vocal folds. So they move the vocal cords. Okay? Alrighty. What are we doing now? Cricoid, epiglottis, glottis is just the opening. Vocal folds, trachea, thyroid glands. Thyroid glands are right here. These two little bean-shaped glands that lie on either side of the trachea. Those are the thyroid glands. They're actually connected by a bridge of tissue, so they look like saddlebags. They look like saddlebags sitting across the trachea. Okay, and they're pretty small unless there's a thyroid tumor, and then they get really big. The thymus gland. Thymus gland in this one. This is all glandular tissue here, and it sits right there.
It's much bigger than the other
top of
cat.
the heart. This is really big in this one. Really big.
Must be
But like in
another-
humans, the thymus gland shrinks as we get older, so that it also becomes almost impossible to find. I don't know if that's the same with the cats, or if they just got it torn away. I'm not really sure. Not really sure. The lungs. I need the pluck. Who's got the pluck? The lungs are right here, right up against the back, protected by the ribs. And this wants you to look at the bronchi. The primary right and left bronchus is the first split that goes to the right and to the left lung. That's the primary after that first split. And then after that first split, you'd have another split, and that would be the secondary right and left bronchus. And then it would split again and again and again and again until finally they all dead end in the alveoli, which are the little air sacs in the lungs. So we can look at that on the sheep pluck. So here's your sheep pluck. Okay, orientation is the heart, so this is sitting like this, right, with the lungs up against the back. So this is the trachea, and if you notice this is all hard cartilage here. That's the cricoid, that first ring all the way around. And if you feel on the trachea, you can feel where these C-shaped rings stop. This is real soft right in here. So this is right where his esophagus would be lying, right in that part right behind the trachea. Okay. And then if we follow that trachea down, we see where the first major branch is, right here and right here, that first big V. So that's the left and the right primary bronchus. Okay? And then if we can pull some of this tissue back, you can see in here it splits again. That would be the secondary. And then that would split again and again and again down to the tiny little, all these tiny little bronchioli right here. All these little tiny tubes, which eventually dead end in the little microscopic alveoli, which are the air sacs where gas exchange happens in the lungs. Okay? Okay. So, back to our kitty cat. Well, I don't know what that was. Back to our kitty cat. If we... Okay, so here is our diaphragm. Okay? This thin layer of muscle that separates the thoracic from the abdominal cavity, right? And we have to seal off the thoracic cavity because you have to have that air tight so you can change pressure, which forces air in and out of your lungs. If we pull this up a little bit, you see that white line under there? This right here? Mm-hmm. That's the central tendon of the diaphragm. There are no muscle fibers there, so it looks white.
Okay.
It's just a little marker. So if we go back up here, again, here's our trachea, right? You can stick the probe in the trachea. You can see that. You can see the probe in the trachea, right? Mm-hmm. Lying just behind the trachea is another opening right here, and that's going down the tube behind the trachea, and that's the esophagus. And you see the esophagus is very flexible and pliable because that has to expand when the bolus of food comes down, right? So this is your esophagus, and the esophagus is going to carry food to the stomach. But to get to the stomach, we have to pass through the diaphragm, which is sealing off the thoracic cavity, right? Mm-hmm. To do that, you can see down in here, this is your esophagus, and it's going through an opening in the diaphragm. That opening in the diaphragm that allows the esophagus to go through is called the hiatus. Okay, that's the esophageal hiatus. And we see where that comes through on the other side, right here. Right here, this is your esophagus coming through on the other side. Sometimes that area can rip.
Sorry.
Sometimes
That's
that opening
esophagus.
rips, and then you get a hiatal hernia, where you have abdominal contents coming up into the thoracic cavity, and that has to be repaired so you can breathe. Okay, that happens a lot in preemies when they're ventilating them. That can happen. Okay, so here is our stomach. Ooh, this is the gooey one. Okay, so this whole U-shaped thing here is the stomach. Okay? This area here where it meets the esophagus, this very top area of the stomach is called the fundus. This is the body. And then this little finger off down here, this is the pyloric region. There is a sphincter at the end of the esophagus where it meets the stomach. That's the gastroesophageal sphincter right here, right there. And that prevents backflow of stomach contents up into the esophagus. So when you swallow, that purse string pulls shut and keeps stuff in the stomach. And if we come around to this end of the stomach, this is the pyloric region of the stomach, this little finger area here. And that's where we meet the duodenum, which is this area right here, the first section of the small intestines. There is also a sphincter between the pyloric region of the stomach and the duodenum. That's called the pyloric sphincter. That regulates flow out of the stomach. Okay? And if we open up our stomach while we're up here, besides the cat chow in there, or hairballs or whatever the heck is in there. You see all these folds in here? All these extra folds of tissue? That's called the rugae, and that allows the stomach to be able to expand, and it also helps a little bit with mechanical digestion, mixing the food with the acid in the stomach. Okay? This gooey stuff right here, this little fat apron right there, this is called the greater omentum, and it is attached to the greater or larger curve of the stomach. Okay, so this is the greater curvature, this is the greater omentum. If you look at the smaller curvature of the stomach, which is in here, or the lesser curvature, this is what's left of the lesser omentum.
Can you redo that? I'm sorry. The
Okay.
lesser one.
The lesser one is right here. Here's the small curve of the stomach in here,
Yep.
and this gooey stuff here, this is the lesser omentum. Okay? This organ right here, that looks like the beef teriyaki, that's the spleen. It's not a digestive organ. It actually has immune system function, but it's a good marker and it's there, so we identify it. And if we move this omentum out of the way, starting over on the spleen, and this ribbon of tissue right here that comes around and eventually ends right up against the duodenum. Where the heck is the duodenum? Sorry, I gotta stick up for this one. Okay, it's been pulled away, but it should be like this. Okay?
That's
So this ribbon of tissue that runs from the spleen around the curve of the stomach over to the duodenum, this is pancreas. Okay? And there's a duct from the pancreas, which your guess is as good as mine where that went, from the pancreas to the very beginning of the duodenum. Because the pancreas, one of the exocrine functions of the pancreas is that it produces digestive enzymes. And it delivers those digestive enzymes in a very alkaline solution, a very basic solution. So you have this sphincter here that's regulating flow of that acid chyme from the stomach, one little drop at a time, into the duodenum. And as that's coming in, the pancreas is releasing these digestive enzymes in a very basic solution to neutralize the acid.
And what's that again?
This is
It's
the
sphincter.
duodenum.
Yep.
That's at the sphincter. Okay?
Is that
So
a
that-
specific name or is it just sphincter?
Pyloric sphincter.
Pyloric sphincter.
Okay? This organ right here is the liver. Okay? And this one doesn't have the gallbladder. Switch cats. Okay? So here's the liver. And this little greenish sac right here, this right here, I can't even pull it off, it's so stuck. That right there is the gallbladder. Okay, the liver produces bile that is stored in the gallbladder. And from the gallbladder, well, this one has the bad ducts too. From the gallbladder, there is a duct, and I'll be damned if I can find it. Does this one have any ducts? I don't have a gallbladder, but nope, that one's cut too. No, we'll just have to make do. There is a duct that leads from the gallbladder. I have no idea where it went. It leads from the gallbladder to the duodenum, that first part of the small intestines. Hold on, let me just kind of reorient things here. Okay, here's the stomach of this guy. Here's the duodenum. Okay, so here's your gallbladder. There's a duct that should be coming down from the gallbladder. Here's ducts from the liver. These are hepatic ducts. The duct from the gallbladder is called the cystic duct. And they both unite, the hepatic ducts and the cystic ducts unite to form the common bile duct, which is right here, that dumps into that very first part of the small intestines, right at the beginning of the duodenum. Because the bile is an emulsifier. It's responsible for breaking up big fat globules into little droplets so they can be digested. So that has to come in right at the beginning of chemical digestion as well. And then your liver enzymes are also delivered right at the beginning of the duodenum. So you've actually got liver enzymes coming in, you've got the pancreas enzymes coming in with the basic solution, and you've got bile all coming in right at the beginning, right after the stomach. Okay? And people who have lost their gallbladder have to watch their diet because they really shouldn't have a diet high in fats because they won't be able to break them down as well, and it causes them a lot of gastrointestinal distress. Also up here, so here's our diaphragm again. The liver is anchored up here by this ligament. It almost seems to split the liver in two. That's called the falciform ligament. That helps to hold the liver up in place. Okay? Coming down here now. So we've got all of our chemical digestion. All of our chemical digestion happens in that first about the first 4 inches of small intestine. This guy's got an adhesion. That's really too bad.
On a what?
Adhesion.
What's that?
It's where it's like a little kink in the small intestines right there.
Maybe that's why he's here.
Yes, that's why.
About the first 4 inches, or that first U-shaped piece of the small intestines, is the duodenum. Chemical digestion begins and ends in the duodenum. Okay? The rest of the small intestines, this really curvy, gooky part here in the middle, this is all jejunum. And then the end few inches, goodness gracious, the end few inches here.
It's like you're a clown.
is-
Some
There we
handkerchiefs.
go. Alright, so from about here to here, where it's not quite as ribbony looking, this is the ileum. The last few inches of the small intestine is ileum. So you have duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Okay? Chemical digestion starts and ends in the duodenum. The rest of it is all for absorption. Okay? Then we have the large intestines, which is clearly larger in diameter. It's shorter in length, but larger in diameter. Okay? And where those two meet, you have this little blind sac right here. That's called the cecum. If this was a human, this would be the appendix hanging off here. Okay? Cats don't have an appendix, but they have a cecum. And where that ileum and that cecum meet, there's a valve that regulates flow from the small to the large intestines. That's the ileocecal valve. Okay? So then this is your large intestines, and if this were seated properly in the kitty cat, it would be something like this, where you're going to have an ascending, a transverse, and a descending colon. Okay? And at the very bottom of this, the end of the descending colon is anchored to the back wall, the back body wall to stabilize it. That's the mesocolon, is what that's called.
So there's a pin deep in there.
It just, yeah, it won't be, but just so you know, that's what anchors the descending colon, the end of the descending colon. Okay, then the rectum for storage, and then elimination through the anus. If we look in here, this beautiful mesentery.
Reminds me of a kidney.
Right, all of that blood flow.
You say that's beautiful, but it's gross when I say you're like a clown.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Orange peel.
We didn't do anything on the neck.
That's of the pancreas.
Yeah, the pancreas, you don't have to worry about head, neck, and body. The pancreas just, if you can identify the pancreas, I'll be happy. If there's still pancreas there by then. Okay? We have to do the salivary glands. Oh, that's unfortunate. There is a duct that runs, this is the masseter muscle, right? Remember that. There's a duct that runs right across the face of the masseter muscle. This one's been ripped, but this is the parotid duct.
She's like thin, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's coming from the parotid gland, which is the largest of the salivary glands. It's right under the ear of the cat. So here's the ear, and there's the parotid gland right there. Right there. Okay? And then just under the jaw is the submandibular, which is right here. Okay? And that has a duct coming off of it that I don't really see too well in this cat. How's that guy's glands? Is he better? Yeah, he is better.
Give me a second. Sorry.
Alright, so here's the parotid duct, right here, coming across, right? This is the parotid gland, right there. Move this out of the way, there's your submandibular gland right there. And here's your duct, right there. And then
It's
below,
tiny.
yep, below the duct is the smallest of the glands, which is this one right here. And that's the sublingual. It's tiny and it's deep to the submaxillary. So it would be down in there like that. And that's also got a duct that runs right along with the submandibular into the mouth, under the tongue. Okay? So we have parotid, submandibular, sublingual, and the parotid duct. Okay? And I think that's it. No, thank you. Trying to cut down.